All new tonight, the New York Police Department is facing a major lawsuit aimed at officers' conduct during summer protests in the wake of George Floyd's killing in Minnesota. We saw protests, peaceful and violent, break out in cities across the country. In many instances, officers and protesters clashed, and that includes New York City. And the state's attorney general has filed a lawsuit today citing dozens of examples of alleged misconduct during those demonstrations. News Nation correspondent Tom Negevin is reviewing the allegations and has the police department's response tonight. Tom?
Yeah, and the union's response as well, Joe. The union that represents the bulk of the NYPD rank and file has a lot to say about this. But tonight, police here are being accused of using police brutality on people who are out to protest that very thing. Scenes like these in the nation's largest city, the police response to protests last spring following the death of George Floyd, leading to an unprecedented lawsuit after a state investigation.
What we found was an egregious abuse of police power, rampant excessive use of force, and leadership unable and unwilling to stop it.
Named as defendants, both New York's mayor and police commissioner. Investigators examining more than 1,300 complaints and pieces of evidence about the NYPD's handling of protesters. Along with reforms, the state wants a monitor to make sure they're carried out, citing as examples excessive use of batons, fist strikes, and pepper spray. This police body cam footage from May 30th appears to show just that. A young man pepper sprayed by an officer who first pulls down his face mask. The man on the video is Andrew Smith.
I was no threat. I was not being aggressive or hostile, but somehow I was still assaulted by the police.
Tonight, the police union is firing back. We will say it again. What we witnessed in June was a failure of New York City's leadership. They sent cops out to police unprecedented protests and violent riots with no plan, no strategy, and no support. They should be forced to answer for the resulting chaos instead of pointing fingers at cops on the streets and ignoring the criminals who attacked us with bricks and firebombs. Joining the state's attorney general in announcing the lawsuit, some of the department's alleged victims, like Rain Valentine, who says he was beaten on the way home from the hospital where he worked and had to go back to get 7 staples to close a gash in his head.
When the beating finally stopped, they left me on the ground with blood streaming down my face.
And Luke Hanna, who claims he was walking away from the protests when he was attacked.
I was struck from behind with a baton. And I touched my head, and my hands were covered in blood.
And tonight, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has issued a statement saying he's disappointed with the lawsuit, that it will likely only slow down his efforts to reform the NYPD. Live in New York, Tom Negevin, News Nation.